Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ring Post Radio, the only show that is still rearing. Rearing? Is that the right? Reeling?
Reeling. That's the word you want.
From
That's
a momentous moment.
You're
in
reeling
wrestling
so
again.
much that you didn't even know the word.
I'm still recovering. That's what I'm doing. That's another R word. I'm speaking of another R word. I'm Ryan. I'm your host of Ring Post Radio. Great
you go.
transition. I think that's one of my top transitions of all time. And with me, as always, the man, the myth, legend, Scotty. Scotty, are you reeling? Are you rearing? Are you recovering from Survivor Series?
I have yet to fully realize what happened. And I'll explain why when we get to it, but man, pro wrestling is the best. It's just the absolute best. There's nothing better. There's nothing on this earth that could be so it's just the best. It's just the best.
Yeah. So big time news coming out last week. And we joked about it, by the way, folks, that if you don't understand what we talk about on the Slack in between recordings and whatnot, we joked about it. Scotty, this is a little bit of a light week. Unless we get some big news coming out, we're going to be just pulling out topics left and right. We're going to talk about the NWA and the CW app. We're going to talk about MLW. We're going to talk about your local indie. We're just going to pull in topics left and right. We need something to pad the time for the episode. And then, WWE drops a big old deuce on that. And that deuce, I guess, in this instance, is the name CM Punk. We'll just get straight into it. I think that's my worst transition of the year. So after nearly a decade, CM Punk is back in WWE, of course, after working in AEW, after getting in several fights, and ultimately being fired by AEW at Survivor Series last night. If you're, for whatever reason, watching this and don't know, CM Punk returned to WWE last night, Survivor Series, in the hometown of Chicago. There's been a lot of updates and news that are coming out now from both Sean Ross Sapp and Dave Meltzer and a bunch of other people talking about it. But we'll go through all these tea leaves in a moment. Scotty, give me your thoughts. What are you thinking about the WWE return of one CM Punk?
It is as surreal as it should feel. And when I say that, 10 years ago, I was a teenager, heartbroken that CM Punk had left WWE and probably was never coming back. Right? Every time they went to Chicago that year, you kind of got your hopes up. They even went as far as playing CM Punk's music and having Paul Heyman walk out there and pretty much say it's never going to happen. As the years went by, I'm someone who just gave up hope. And I said, okay, he's never coming back. He's not coming back to wrestling, let alone WWE. And then, of course, 3 years ago, he comes back, or 2 years ago, whatever it is now. He comes back in AEW, and it's one of my favorite wrestling moments ever. It's incredible. It is what many call the ultimate shift for AEW as a company when he officially walked in, right? It was him, then Danielson, right? It was just this unreal year-long run that the company would go on to have before, shit hit the fan. But it was an incredible year. And when he left AEW this time around, I had accepted that he was done. I said, you know what? CM Punk versus Samoa Joe is a perfect way to go out. This is far better than the last time he left pro wrestling. I'm happy. He did it in the biggest stage with 80,000 in attendance. I'm good. I know the circumstances and what happened. Most people just can't stand the guy, and I get that. I totally get that. But as a longtime CM Punk fan, I was happy with how it ended. Fast forward to last night, Ryan. I never, ever really let it get into my mind or my heart that he would be coming out and doing anything in WWE ever again, because everyone needs to understand how bad it was when things ended. This guy was sued by the company that he now works for.
He also then did another suit to them via their doctor, who still works in the company.
He sued the doctor. He lost freaking Colt Cabana as his best friend because of all this. Like, you don't understand. He got served his firing papers on his wedding day. I never gave any belief to the many people say, "Oh my God, what if he comes back? What if he comes back in Chicago?" Not for a second, Ryan. Not for a single second. And you know why I know that's true? Because we never talked about it on this show. We were like, yeah, whatever. Not like, and no one was sold on it, and maybe that's the best part of it. No one knew going into this show. Sean Ross Sapp, Dave Meltzer, they were like, it's not happening, but it's wrestling, so you never know. Like, that's the only way they could look at it. They said it's going to be the best kept secret they've ever had. Well, it was. And the way it unfolded, and how Triple H does his usual, let's put up the little banner to say it's over, like the baby face is celebrating, and then that music hits and Chicago loses their mind. I yell multiple things out loud. I was very, very rattled. I don't know if it's fully registered for me yet, because it was so short, right? We got the music, we got the pop, and then the show went off the air.
Yeah, it was really like 2 minutes. It was like what? I literally sat in this chair right here in this corner, watching the television, being like, what? And then in a full minute pause. Oh my God. And then a full minute, and then the show's over.
Obviously, I have never had a problem swearing on the show, but because we're on YouTube, I'm going to be nice. I will just say I yelled, "Holy bleep." Okay? You can decide which word it was. But I sat there stunned. And now there's the ramifications to deal with, right? Like the fact that he's actually back.
Yeah. Okay. All right. This is a big moment. What the hell does any of this mean?
But
welcome Gwyn Evans back in the chat. Appreciate you watching the show. Over under on how long this punk run lasts. Another great question. How long does this last?
There's so many questions. The one thing I will say before we move on is that two of my most favorite moments as a wrestling fan are CM Punk coming back. I'm just telling you that now. This is up there, because
we got it happen twice in the past 3 years.
I tried not to make myself believe the first time it happened, even though it was reported and it's like, okay, we're doing this whole thing in Chicago. I was like, all right, it's definitely going to happen. But it was still like, I don't want to get let down. This time, this was absolute shock. Absolute, like, it is insane that this man is back in the WWE. And with that, Ryan, WWE concludes its banner year as a pro wrestling company.
I never in my mind did I ever think that CM Punk would ever return, and let alone he's returning in this WWE this year. This is a banner year for the company, and now I think it was like Trevor Dame tweeted out that he's like, this isn't like Dave is trying to make the argument on the Observer Radio last night of like, the tickets have gotten a little soft, but they're still hot, but the tickets are a little soft now. And
they just sold more tickets for this show than they did WrestleMania 22.
A great point. A great counter. And obviously they still have the Raw deal, TV deal up in the air right now.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, you bring in a top star. I agree with Trevor Dame. He tweeted out, this doesn't feel like WWE needs him. This feels like you're running up the score. This feels like, oh, why not? Let's bring him in. I am shocked. I am dumbfounded. I am flabbergasted. I mean, let's just go through some of these notes. I think.
I just want to say, I have how he has for his song, he has like the record scratch thing.
Sure.
I have the WWE version stuck in my head, and I have for years. I've used that for multiple like projects, just the record scratch itself, because it's like perfect. When I heard that, I think my jaw dropped to the floor. I was like, no freaking way. I was like, there's no way. I didn't even have to hear the song. So it's funny. Someone tweeted like something about this Fire Burns. I was like, did he come out to that? I was like, I don't even remember what song played. That's how like lost in the moment I got. But yeah, let's get into it because there's a lot to get into, huh?
Yeah, so obviously I think the number one thing is, did people in the ring know who knew about CM Punk's return? According to Dave and Sean Ross Sapp and various people, I think even Triple H made this, basically saying that Triple H knew and Nick Khan made the call. Vince McMahon had nothing to do with this deal, apparently. It was just Vince McMahon and CM Punk had a conversation about 10 days ago or so. Apparently signed a multi-year contract. I believe it just says multi-year agreement.
I'm gonna guess
signed a multi-year contract. Nick Khan said, obviously, sure, and then they signed the contract. And that was pretty much it. And then it seems like no one knew beyond that. It was just those two people, or three people, including Punk. And then right before, at some point last night, seemingly the only other people that knew were people in the production truck, obviously, and then the guys in the ring for the War Games main event. They knew that's according to Sean Ross Sapp. Apparently, they knew at some point. I'm not exactly sure when, but they were in the ring. They knew. So, and then you get all the reactions online of Drew McIntyre storming out of the arena, Seth Rollins cursing up a storm and flipping off Punk and telling him I'm going to beat his ass if he's in the back, all this stuff. So obviously these reactions, obviously it feels like very much they could be work. They still very much could be real. I could imagine if Drew McIntyre's reaction was Punk based, maybe he's upset that, well, I just lost my WrestleMania match to CM Punk. Maybe the Seth Rollins match, maybe it's a work. Maybe it's still his real feelings and how he feels about him, but ultimately will still work with him. What do you think about the future of CM Punk in this company?
I put cash on Seth being a work. Because I think Seth knows he's in front of people with cameras. Seth knows how to react. Seth knows what people think. Seth knows what people know about him and CM Punk, right? People know he does not like him. Yeah. So I think anything other than a reaction like that would have been terrible. Like Seth Rollins just did the right thing. He should react like that. Drew McIntyre, on the other hand, I have no idea. The fact that he was angry, I think you're right. Losing another top spot, this is something that he's kind of, unfortunately for him, grown accustomed to the past few years. So I definitely think that's a possibility. But the future of CM Punk, it may not be long. It may not be long. We don't know. But
would you like to answer Gwen Evans' question? Over under on how long does Punk last? Obviously, agreement's a multi-year. But what do you
I confidently say he makes it past WrestleMania.
Yeah,
after
I think
that,
that's fair.
he may not give a shit. So, right to me, like WrestleMania is the spot, right? Maybe they'll give him his WrestleMania main event he once so wanted, and go off in the sunset after that. That's one way I look at it. But ultimately, what the future holds for CM Punk is various possibilities. Like there are so many fresh people for him to wrestle with in this company, and we could have that same conversation that the same was true for him in AEW, but a lot of those matches were never going to happen. I think CM Punk sees this as an opportunity to shut the book correctly on his own career the way he may want. And whether that involves him getting himself fired, we'll have to wait and see, but I think he's going to be a lot more contained than he was in AEW because, one, he doesn't have control like he did in AEW.
Seemingly, as far as we know, yes.
Okay, he's not running a show. At least
Fair.
he's
Yeah,
not.
no, that's
He's
fair.
not. They're not giving him SmackDown. Everyone.
I'm doing the thing of, yeah, we don't know, but
He definitely can have like creative control, but he's not running SmackDown. So that's a good start. 2, he's probably not going to be there every week. I would guess he's probably a bit more part-timey. I think that's probably the best way to use him in WWE. And 3, I think everyone's going to want to work with him because he's CM Punk. What Triple H said in the presser yesterday couldn't be more true. The one thing everyone can say about CM Punk is he's always the topic of conversation. He's always the conversation starter. He's always someone people are talking about. You don't have a lot of those. And by the way, if he's not in the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame next year, this guy went back to the WWE. He's going to get probably a main event on one of those 2 nights at WrestleMania. Oh, he's a lock now, baby.
What do you think? What do you think WrestleMania looks like?
I think night 1, Seth Rollins versus CM Punk. Night 2, still Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes.
I would almost argue that
I don't think they'll give CM Punk the belt beating Roman Reigns. I just don't think they would do that.
Agreed. And I also would argue that they shouldn't have. I don't think they should have. Well, so here's the question. All right. CM Punk's WrestleMania main event dream, right?
Yes.
Is that dream just I want to be in the main event, or do I want to win the main event?
It was always in the main event.
I agree. It's always been in.
As someone who has watched this documentary and stuff like that, it was always in.
Yeah.
So but even if he was in it for the world title against Seth Rollins, I would not be surprised if he also won the main event.
That's a great question. Part of me says you do Punk versus Roman and have Punk lose.
Sure.
And then you do Cody versus Seth, and then Cody can win and do that, and then be like, but this is not really what I want, or which would bury the title, be something incredibly stupid. Yeah. So ultimately you have to still do that, and then you have to do Punk versus Seth, but Punk versus Seth feels like, as I just kind of mentioned before, McIntyre feels like that might have been McIntyre versus Seth. In which case, by the way, I'm also reading, according to the Observer, McIntyre's WWE contract is believed to expire around WrestleMania next year after having time tacked onto it due to an injury. If we also recall, it took him so long to get back into the main roster because he was, quote, waiting for the right story. Yeah. So the right story would have seemingly been him maybe ending his time as champion at WrestleMania and re-signing, or ending his time losing at WrestleMania and going off into the sunset. Now, Randy Orton's back and CM Punk is back to take 2 spots that could have been McIntyre's. I fully believe McIntyre is not going to be in a spot anymore. And, we'll talk about the greater wrestling world at large and how this Punk news affects it. But I think there's a good chance McIntyre is walking out that door come April.
One thing that WWE has never failed to do is favor the older part-timer wrestlers, and that's why I'm pretty convinced it'll just be him and Rollins. I think for the next 4 months they are going to work this angle that they pretty much started last night. I'm not saying last night was an angle on Raw, like officially an angle, but it's going to probably be one.
I think those Seth Rollins reactions are his true emotions.
Absolutely. But I think he's also smart.
Yeah.
He's also like, this is my chance to main event WrestleMania. Because truthfully, even if him and Drew were set, I bet that would not have been the main event, and it would have been like Rhea and Becky or something, right? Agreed. Now this is his shot to main event again. And maybe even bring in the title. They could have just not had him be world champion by then. Maybe he was a challenger, right? Trying to get the belt back. That is something they would have done, especially if he wasn't main eventing. Now things change. CM Punk is in the door. There's a lot of things to do with CM Punk. The only thing I wouldn't do, and this might be crazy because of like the idea of the match and what it could create, but I would not put him against Roman. I just think I just think Roman needs to lose more than anything. Like, yes, the match with
Agreed.
CM Punk is an interesting one, but they need to have him lose, and Cody has to be the guy to do it at this point in the puzzle that has been the never-ending baseball game that Paul Heyman talks about. It needs to be
I believe
Cody.
that's called cricket.
And would it not be a WWE-esque thing to do of having CM Punk and Cody Rhodes be their top 2 world champions at the end of WrestleMania?
I mean, there's a chance that happens. I mean, it hasn't happened yet. WWE hasn't really WWE has never been the personality to bring in an outside talent and belt them up immediately. They're always like,
here's the thing.
We always want to embarrass them first is the WWE mantra. But obviously Vince McMahon was involved in this. Vince McMahon's not a part of creative. Maybe Vince McMahon is the problem here. We'll see what Triple H and Nick Khan do about it.
CM Punk was notably theirs first, so it might be different.
Fair point. That's a fair point. I'm trying to think. Was there any other news? Apparently Punk will be at Raw tomorrow.
Yes.
So that's an interesting news bit. I'm trying to think if there's any other news regarding CM Punk specifically here. Not that I can really see. So let's talk about the wrestling world as a whole. How does this affect the wrestling world as a whole? Obviously, AEW is the big part of that image. Impact is part of that image. Big fan of Smashing Pumpkins, Billy Corgan, maybe. I doubt it. I don't think
I'll get it. I can say Impact really quick. Good try.
The report is that Impact offered him a lot of money, and I'm going to guess he then used that to leverage a better deal with WWE since he wasn't using AEW to leverage a deal.
So good job on TNA Impact, nonstop total wrestling. Appreciate it. AEW, boy, oh 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 boy. Tony Khan must be a very sad man right now. Because
he's that Ishii meme.
There's no one who wanted CM Punk to work in AEW more than Tony Khan himself. Right?
Yep.
And it took a lot of pain, I'm sure, and it took a lot of headaches, and it took a lot of time to try to make that work for what was it, 2 years? We went 2 years of trying to make that work.
Yeah.
And ultimately, in the end, he lost out on CM Punk, and CM Punk goes to WWE, if you want to just get a laugh about it, because Jack Perry couldn't keep his mouth shut. That was just that was the boiling point, right? And I remember saying this to you, Ryan. I said he couldn't just not say anything. That's all Jack Perry had to do, right? Because let me preface this. I know there's a very good chance CM Punk still could have been fired since then. But my point is,
very, very could.
But my point is, he probably would have made it further, and maybe this wasn't an instant reality, but there was so much time between when he got fired and now that it became almost too perfect for them not to do it. AEW, they need to do a lot as is, right? With or without CM Punk. This isn't a death blow to them, because I just think the way they run their company, they can get back into the hearts of many fans, because there's a lot of AEW fans who are frustrated with the product. There are a lot of AEW fans who want the product to be better, and they know the product can be better.
Yeah.
It just takes them going back to what made them great in the first place. That's what they got to do. And they really need to embrace that now more than ever.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And AEW, I think, is going to be fine. Obviously, they just signed Will Ospreay, so that's a big deal. I mean,
Edge,
a big money mover, Edge. If the McIntyre thing doesn't work out, hey, guess what? Drew Galloway, new AEW signing, Drew Galloway. I think that AEW is an interesting spot. I think you're right that it ultimately won't really hurt AEW as much as it could have been before, because I think AEW is in a different
spot. It hurts Tony Khan more than AEW.
Yeah, it hurts Tony Khan more personally than AEW, because AEW is in a different spot than it was before. If anything, right now, for a lot of people, I think they would agree that AEW has its own problems to figure out before
Yeah.
addressing like the whole CM Punk stuff.
Right.
The bro Chacho stories, all these characters and whatnot that we don't enjoy. We did a whole podcast about this. A lot of the things that's going on wrong in the company right now are like, well, a CM Punk coming in wouldn't have fixed this.
No.
So it is one of those things. I think also it's just emblematic of, another that feeling. Garrett Kidney had a great tweet thread about this, that the sort of idea of that feeling of that beginning 2019 feeling of that anti WWE, what's that phrase Tony Khan keeps using all the time in regards to AEW, that secondary, not secondary brand, but alternate brand, or whatever the hell the name of that thing is called. But that idea of like, Cody Rhodes was the face of the sort of like fighting against WWE. CM Punk was like, was the spirit of that pipe bomb promo, was what became AEW. That's what the whole fight was about. And so him coming in was very spiritual successor almost of that pipe bomb promo was AEW. Now both of those people are gone, and you really don't have anybody. Jericho has never really been that. He has on like a professional stance, but nothing really like, drum up the troops sort of on television. Moxley has also not really been that. He has also been sort of professional. Danielson has definitely never been that. And that's kind of all you got. Everyone else beyond that, there's a laundry list of people that seemingly are waiting for their AEW contracts to run up in like 2025 to bounce back to WWE. To name a few, FTR, Malachi, Miro, all these people seemingly are waiting for their contracts to come up so they can go back to WWE. So I think it's just sort of an issue of, if you're going to find that feeling back, I don't know if that feeling is ever going to come back, because there really isn't anyone to replace that feeling as we know on television. And beyond, I don't know, CM Punk pissing off like Seth Rollins or something, and then Seth Rollins pops over to AEW, we get the return of Tyler Black. I don't really know how you ever recapture that feeling. I think that feeling is now officially dead and gone, which sucks. That's the bigger issue for AEW. That's the bigger Punk hit that does this for AEW, is that original 2019 AEW feeling, I think, is truly dead and gone. And unless Cody Rhodes comes back, which will be diminishing returns, I don't think Punk will ever come back, unless someone other like Seth Rollins-esque level star in WWE bounces over to AEW with such vitriol on live television. I don't think you're ever going to get that feeling. And I don't think Will Ospreay's bringing that feeling with him. He's a great signing. No. He's one of the best. He's the best wrestler in the world right now. He's not bringing that feeling.
It's
a hole. It's a hole to climb out. And they got bigger issues right now.
I've said this on the show multiple times, that Cody Rhodes was like a bigger domino than I think people wanted to give it credit for at the time.
Agreed.
Not because I expected this like exodus of AEW talent to join WWE, but I think Cody Rhodes, like you just said, was such a big proponent in that us versus them mindset.
Yeah.
That
challenger brand.
It doesn't. I don't know if it feels the same when it comes from someone that doesn't know what the other side feels like.
Yeah.
Right. Cody Rhodes, and he was the professional, right? He is this like company guy. And when he switched, it's really when WWE started to surge finally. Yes, everyone points to Vince, leaving, right? Obviously that helped. But WWE started to make noise when Cody walked back in the door. And over time, it started building and started building and started building, and Triple H takes over. And then it builds and builds and builds. And now everywhere they go is a record profit in every town. Everywhere they go is a sellout. Everywhere they go is something new. Yesterday, we had the most watched Survivor Series ever.
Yeah.
Is what was being reported by Peacock.
And I'm pulling up the ticket sales of last year and this year, by the way.
Before the first match was even over. It was the most watched. That's how many people were watching this. The Peacock deal has obviously done them wonders, by the way, putting the network on there. But they have gotten themselves hot. And Cody Rhodes moving from AEW to WWE is a major part of that. And it's a major part of why we are seeing what is happening in AEW. CM Punk leaving, it's the next episode of that. And how do you answer this? I think you're absolutely right. I think that original feeling is gone. And you know what? This might be the hottest take I have on this show. It's okay. You know why? Because you need a new feeling after 4 or 5 years. You need to go to that next realm. The next realm isn't getting WWE fans. You know why it's not getting WWE fans? Because they're going to keep watching WWE. You're not getting them. It's not happening. You need to go back to what your core was. Your core are the hardcore wrestling fans. The hardcore wrestling fans that rather see a all-time, slugfest of a match than this great promo and 7-8 month story that involves two guys who hate each other and are now best friends and won't go away. Like, that is not AEW. That isn't even WWE. The Brochachos thing isn't even WWE. I don't know why. Like, they would not.
We talked about it. It's kind of WWE if instead of Bloodline, you look at it like the Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho.
Sure, but they'd abandon it if Adam Cole was hurt. They'd be like, all right, it's over. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
that's no really the part on. That really, I think that part has really frustrated a lot of people.
Like the inability to go to that next step, right? And that is an AEW, that is a Tony Khan trope of not having that next plan in place instantly. It is something that, all this is going wrong. What do we do now? And it takes a long time to figure it out, right? Remember last year when, Punk and the Elite were suspended? It took a long time to get back on track. Yep. I don't know if they ever really did get back on track. Truthfully, they had, Omega and the Young Bucks having the great series and stuff like that. And they had Jon Moxley, thank God. And, they crowned MJF as champion. that didn't pay off. Like, the WWE story was the Brochachos originally, and then it became not even WWE anymore. Once Cole, like, it would have probably ended at All In. They would have done the turn. They would have moved on, right? Yeah. Like, I comparing it to the Bloodline, it's so different because the Bloodline had more moving parts than two people as well. Right? There was more ability to prolong it.
Yeah. Real quickly, before we move on to that, more of that stuff. Survivor Series, like you said, most watched Survivor Series in the history of Peacock, history of WWE ever. It was the most watched before the first match even ended. WrestleTix has it at 17,102 tickets distributed. Michael Cole announced 17,138. So, I mean, that's 36 ticket difference. So that's probably the attendance here. Practically a sellout in this arena, if not a full-on sellout. I don't know what the seating arrangement is here, but 17,138, most watched Survivor Series of all time. Last year's War Games, the one in TD Garden in Boston that Scotty was at, was attended by 15,609. So you sold 1,500 more tickets a year later. Just want to also point out Roman Reigns, Bloodline, not involved in the show whatsoever. And it was the most watch ever, and it sold a bunch of tickets and sold even more than last year, where Roman was in the main event. But I digress.
There's just so many moving parts. And ultimately, here's the answer for AEW. Go back to what made you the alternate. Like, I can't stress that enough. You're having a round robin tournament right now. That's part of it. That's definitely part of it. But it all starts at the top. It all starts with the AEW World Title. If the AEW World Title and what's going on with that isn't exciting people, isn't getting people to tune in, then nothing else matters. It's just the truth. They don't have Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, Seth Rollins. Like, they don't have 4 unbelievably over baby faces
LA
to
Knight.
Push them past the world title that isn't around. By the way, they don't have that. So the world title is their crutch, and the world title is a damper on things more than anything else.
Yeah. Do you think CM Punk's return to WWE is a net positive for the entire wrestling world? Obviously, I think it's a positive for WWE. Well, it's right now a positive for WWE. Talk to me in 6 months. We'll see if we still agree if it's a positive in WWE. But right now, do you think it's a net positive for the wrestling world as a whole? Do you think by WWE getting more and more powerful, that this is going to raise all the tide, one ship raising all tides, that sort of gimmick? Is Impact going to get better? Is TNA better? Is AEW going to improve and bounce back and fight back to this news? Is this something that is going to turn things around for the rest of the wrestling world, or is it just going to be, is this just a story of WWE getting stronger and more powerful?
I think it can be. I think it can be like an opportunity for all these other companies to wake up, right? Because we've had the conversation in the past, and many people have about this, right? When AEW came in, it forced WWE to try and change things and do things.
Yeah.
Especially when they were red hot in 2021 and on, it made something happen gradually over time. And I think over time, depending how long Punk's around and stuff like that, it's going to make other companies work harder. I think Impact accepted their role and where they're at, and I think that's why they are as good as they are, truthfully.
Yeah.
But AEW, they do need to fight back, but not fight back in a way of, going on TV and be like, oh, we hate CM Punk, blah, blah, blah. Like, you don't have to, truthfully, you shouldn't say CM Punk's name unless you're talking about like records and stuff. You shouldn't.
Which by the way,
they
right
did last night.
right before he debuts in WWE, Malachi Black mentioned CM Punk live on Collision.
Yeah, like I'm not going out of my way to say his name, but I'm going out of my way to use that as fuel as a roster, right? The guy that a lot of you hated has went to the other company. So now you have this figurehead, right? That you can push yourselves to try and beat, to try to face, to try to compete against. Do you remember when I always looked at Vince as that for AEW, right? They saw him and they were like, oh, we can't beat this guy, right? So many of us have been hurt by him one way or the other.
Sure.
Well, now it can be CM Punk in a very different way. Like for the people that could not stand him, listen, I'm going to say it right now. Young Bucks, time to wake up. You two need to wake up.
Yeah.
AEW needs you. The tag division needs you. I understand you're doing this Bucks camp thing and BTE's dead and it's a whole thing. Boy, oh boy, do I hope this involves you guys waking up because they need you. They need you bad.
I'll also add MJF needs to wake up.
Oh my God. Well, MJF is watching his, like I said earlier, his two biggest
mentors,
mentors. Yeah, there you go. His two biggest mentors essentially run the other company. It's time for him to show why they believed in him. And he has to oppose them. He has to fight them back. Because guess what, folks? Big whoop. He's staying. He's signed. He's there. Once upon a time, yeah, maybe he wasn't if CM Punk jumps ship when before that contract signed. But that ain't the reality now. AEW needs him to be the MJF that everyone believed in once upon a time. Badly. He needs to, again, right the ship. I'm not going to blame Kenny Omega for not having a big spot. I don't know what they're doing with him, but boy, oh boy, is there ever a time that they need Kenny Omega to be in a big spot. They have Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley's always there. Jon Moxley has fought so many battles for this company by now, but they're going to need him again. And the list goes on and on and on. But it starts with those EVPs that they picked. Ultimately were picked over CM Punk. Rightfully so. I said it at the time, right? You and me talked about this on this show when CM Punk was fired. It had to happen.
Yeah.
100% it had to happen.
Yep.
Hangman Page has put some of the best work of his career in since CM Punk walked out that door. Lean on the guys that were there that started this company. And that's how you try to get some sort of feeling back. I don't know if it's the feeling, but God damn it, it's a feeling.
Should we address the conspiracy theory that's also being rumored about, which is that CM Punk, now looking back, could we argue that CM Punk, if we put our tinfoil hats on real quick, could we argue that CM Punk tried to get himself fired?
I mean,
He's picking
I don't
fights left and
know.
right. He pisses off Jack Perry. He does a fist pump. He knows he's going out.
I don't
Um,
know. I think he pretty easily could have got fired a year before that happened.
there's a report when he was on the hiatus, quote unquote hiatus, that he showed up at WWE. Remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Um,
I mean, for the fun of it, we could say sure, yeah, totally. I don't think that's what happened though. They gave him a show. Like they gave him a show that he got to run, like to the very core, and he would still be running it now probably if it wasn't for people, fighting back as they should because, whatever.
mhm.
Um good job, Jack Perry. Like I, I
You
doubt he
people can
tried.
point fingers at Jack Perry, by the way, but ultimately, if it wasn't Jack Perry, it would have been somebody else. I think.
Yeah, yeah. Cry me a river, Jack Perry. Cry me a river. Um, no, I don't think he got himself fired. I just because there was so much uncertainty with WWE, and I do believe Triple H when he says like this happened very quickly and
Yeah.
things like that. Like I don't think the moment he walked out there, like, yeah, let's do this. Like it couldn't have happened. You know why? Because it would have been reported on. Because that's how this business works today.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fascinating day. I think you're right. I think we'll have to see what Raw looks like to see really what we know moving forward for CM Punk. And I think
I'm excited
ultimately,
for Monday Night Raw. Never
whoa,
did I
whoa,
think I'm more excited for Monday Night Raw and WWE television than I am AEW television right now, folks.
does that give WWE promotion of the year? Is that an argument?
Oh, I think they are. Listen, I think they're going to win it without the
Yeah,
CM Punk thing,
that'd be true.
because they've been, all together and
Hmm.
making record profits and having record shows.
Yep.
You may not have like the match of the years and stuff like that you want from, or like that the hardcore fans want from a New Japan, AEW, so on and so forth. But if you look at it in the business sense, in the overall sense,
Oh,
it's
business
been
wise, undoubtedly promotion of
business
the
wise,
year.
it ain't even close.
No.
But if you look at it in every way, right, it is them and everyone else. Added the running up the score, as Trevor Dame said, of adding CM Punk. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's there. It's not theirs to lose. It's theirs, plain and
Yeah.
simple.
I think you're right. Yeah, and like I said, I think it's going to be determining what CM Punk looks like on Raw on this Monday, and then I think ultimately give us the 1 to 3 weeks to see how AEW responds. I think
It's a
that's going to be
really
interesting as well.
weird time for him to come in because the end of the year in WWE is very quiet, right? It's very, we're not going to do much here.
Yep.
Um,
Because we're going to start. We're going to wait till we get to the WrestleMania push
yeah,
of Royal
yeah.
Rumble.
So it's like let's get by the holidays and then we'll kick it into gear. So there's like I think there's a decent chance CM Punk shows up on Raw because you have to, right? Like he
Of
just walked
course.
in, has his first promo, and maybe they just save him. Like I could just see them save him to the new year.
Hmm.
Like he doesn't need to be there every week. Like Roman, like Brock, like right, all these people. He doesn't need to be there every week. And I think that's going to be beneficial to him. More, that's why I think he's going to last a lot longer. He's not going to be backstage every week to get mad. As long as they have a story for him, as long as they have something for him, he's going to be fine. And I'm sure they do. You know why? Because I just watched him walk back in the door.
Yeah. I imagine, by the way, 10 days notice. I imagine that creative doesn't probably have any plans for him right now.
No, Triple H probably threw a few things at him, and that's probably about it.
Gwyn Evans in the chat. They'll send Theory out there to eat a GTS. Oh yeah, you got to send some sort of fool out there night one to eat a GTS.
Oh yeah, big time.
Big time. Gotta.
Think of someone that we all don't like. Easy money.
Easy money. Well, speaking of easy money, let's talk about Survivor Series War Games here. Of course, like I
Good
said,
show
17,000.
without the
Yeah,
Punk
pretty good.
stuff, by the way.
Pretty decent show, I think.
It was an easy for WWE shows that go long because of their commercials and stuff. This was a very easy show for me to watch, which
Yeah.
isn't always something I could say.
Get a lot of love on Cage Match. I'm noticing a lot of the love has to do with CM Punk's return. But I just think that's funny. But let's get to the actual matches itself. Starting off with the women's War Games match: Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, and Shotzi able to defeat the team of Damage Control: Asuka, Bayley, Io Sky, and Kairi Sane. Scotty, what do you think about this women's War Games match, and how do you think it sort of shapes up against previous women's War Games matches?
It was better than last year's, as someone that was in the building for it. But that's not saying much. I
I don't
just
remember
think, like,
last year's at all.
yeah, well, there you go. We have really, I think War Games as a whole has suffered since leaving NXT. I think it worked better in NXT, and maybe because it was fresh, right? With the we didn't know how it was going to unfold, so the first few were a lot better. But yeah, the women's War Games match, unfortunately, it was a bit clunky at times, right? A lot of setting up, a lot of getting into position, a lot of things like that. It was entertaining though, and it furthers the story of Bayley being the loser, right? Right. Damage Control's history has essentially been losing. And I think they're gonna put that all on Bayley in the end, and then you're gonna get the trio of Asuka, Kyrie, and Io moving forward, and they're gonna kick her out. So I had no problem with that. Some cool moves, right? Like Io running back the trash can over her and jumping off the top. Always fun with that. I liked the little creative way of her getting the trash can with the chain. I thought that was a fun little thing. Yeah, it's just like it's exactly what I expected it to be. In another world, this match can be like great in that they do it more structured, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I think every women's War Games match since the first one at NXT has been sort of diminishing returns for me.
Yeah.
People are
The
loving it
first one was so
online.
different, by the way.
Yeah, I really did not. I thought this was good. I thought, like you said, like it's the thing of they're setting up too much. Every single person comes out and immediately goes underneath the ring to grab stuff. I mean, it happens to the men's one too, but that trope I'm just so over. They repeated the Io Sky trash can spot, which was fine. The Charlotte Flair moonsault. Oh my god, I could have. We could have talked about how bad of an idea that was. She has always sort of like rotated to the point where when she does a moonsault, when Charlotte Flair does a moonsault, she's always landing on her feet, but she's landing on her feet from the top of the ring post or whatever, the turnbuckle to the outside. That's reasonable. Here, she's doing it way higher. She's going to over rotate, and she practically just landed her feet straight in like Io Sky's head.
Yeah.
Which looked real bad.
If that was the actual goal, like to hit like this backwards drop kick, it would have been sick. But you know what? That wasn't the goal, folks.
No, it looked rough. It looked real rough.
I will say the one thing that I thought carried this match was Damage Control selling. Like I think they just make the babyface team look like $1 million. And then not Kyrie hitting the spinning back fist with the trash can thing at the end. That was great. That was really
funny.
good.
I enjoyed
That was really loud, so like they got a good reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would have had Damage Control win. That would have also been smart, but they're telling the Bayley story instead. So,
which I get. I'm not fully into the story, so I wasn't fully into this War Games match. But
no,
it's
it's a story that I think it's going to be more interesting once Bayley's out.
Well, yeah, I'm not into the Bayley story, and I'm also not into the Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch sort of getting.
Oh God, no! The hug that they did, I was like,
that was weird. It was like they were trying to hype each other up, but also
yeah. And the crowd they're like, what is? I think the crowd was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Is this a good thing? I don't know.
It was a weird one. WWE Intercontinental title match. Gunther defeats The Miz. If I can steal a line from Brian Alvarez, which I actually don't know if I agree with, so I don't even know if I want to steal the line, but I'm going to anyways. For a Gunther match, It was below par. For a Miz match, it was above par. I don't even know if I
That's
agree with that.
correct.
I think the Miz match was not above par. I thought he actually wasn't that good in this match. I'm
No,
trying to
but
think,
the
was it a
match
good Miz match? No,
overall,
I don't think it was a good Miz match. I think
I
his
think
kicks look real bad in this match.
well, Miz is bad. That's the thing. Like overall, from the Miz matches I've seen over the past couple of years, it's probably on par with the Logan Paul match. Logan Paul match might have been better because Logan Paul did a lot more.
Fair.
I don't know, man. It's just like he's bad. Like he's really bad. And Gunther did his best. Like he
This
really did.
this was like they booked it. It was very weird because they booked like the match almost like 50-50 in offense, right?
Yeah.
But whenever Gunther was on offense, it was just like, all right, I'm gonna do a spot, and then I'm gonna like be a cocky asshole to the crowd for a
Yeah.
little bit. And
Yeah.
it's just like, wow, this is the cockiest Gunther I've ever seen, I think, in
Yeah.
WWE. And he's just like toying with the Miz, despite like the match being sort of 50-50 and the Miz like working Gunther's knee and leg the entire time to set
Yeah.
up for the figure four. It was like that was weird.
Hmm.
It really was just like Gunther, like, this is no big deal. I'm not trying because the Miz sucks.
Good.
As he sort of
Good,
already
honestly.
stated on TV prior.
I'm still angry that the one pay-per-view match they give Gunther is against the Miz. Like this is stupid. Give him something else, and he's probably not probably. He's easily having the match of the night.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about it beforehand. If 3.5 stars or higher, I would have gotten Gunther match of the year contender. And I don't think it was 3.5 for either of us. It was not bad. I gave it, I think it did 3 and a
Wrestler of
quarter.
the year, not match of the year. Do
Oh,
not
my
say match
apologies.
of the
My
year.
apologies. Yes,
Jesus
wrestler of the year.
Christ. The Miz couldn't get match of the year if he bled like Hangman and Swerve. We'd still be like, oh, that was stupid.
That would be, that would be good though. I was thinking during this match that like the Miz would have a fantastic Matt Cardona run on the Indies. Like him showing up in GCW, that would be a good match. That would pop some numbers for GCW. That would get GCW back in the back in the world.
If the Miz ever went to AEW, I think we could just call him dead.
Yeah, it was. I did like 3 and a quarter. I was like, this is
It was fine.
pretty good match. I mean, the
Better
storyline
than
made sense.
most Miz matches.
Yeah. His kicks just look so bad, dude.
Oh my god, the world famous hit kicks, as you sent to me, and I wanted to throw up.
Santos Escobar defeats Dragon Lee. 8-minute 20-second match. Very short. A very short sort of technico lucha match here. Not really big, high flying. A little bit. Just a lot.
I had a great time.
Big time spots. Yeah, talk to me. You really like this match?
I had a great time. It was very it was very CMLL in that, like, Santos played the Rudo to like perfection, and he's ripping off Dragon Lee's mask, and he's just doing all like the little heel things before Dragon Lee gets the big fire up, and the crowd really good for this match, which was shocking because I always feel like when we have like these wrestler matches that aren't, the top stars yet, they don't always react, but I think that these two did a really good job of getting them into it. And Dragon Lee, man, he's just so good. He's just so good.
Yeah.
My only thing that I'm sad about is that it should have been a lot longer. Because I think they have like a great match in them. I do.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they have a lot more in them. Ultimately, I like the next two matches better overall. Both the women's title match and the main event.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought this was good paced. It definitely didn't overstay welcome because I wanted it to go a lot longer. I wanted to go like 5 more minutes, which is not something I always ask for. But I think Santos Escobar really established himself as a heel, and I'm actually excited to see where he goes because I think he's really good.
I agree. I think these guys have definitely something here. This match wasn't enough to really showcase that, but what the time they had, I think they did a
they had him win strong, which is unique for WWE and their heels. So
Dragon Lee also still a little over the crowd.
Yeah.
Dragon Lee.
Dragon Lee wrestled. This is very random. Excuse me. Dragon Lee wrestled Axiom 2 weeks ago.
on SmackDown.
and it was so good. And they got the crowd into it. I was like, what happened to the WWE crowd I once knew? Dragon Lee and Axiom are getting them into this match, and like if you watch the match, it was like full on like, oh, if this was in AEW, you would not have been shocked. If this was in, you know, or a Lucha company, you would not be shocked. But it's like Dragon Lee is getting himself over just by wrestling, and it's a very unique thing. That
sounds like a company I once was into a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the women's world title match. Honestly, I think this might have been my match of the night. I really enjoyed Rhea Ripley versus Zoe Stark.
It's really good.
It was a really good match.
It took a Zoe Stark good.
And I was like, she's a good hand. And then the match got better. And I was like, she's not. I think she's like not a good hand. I think she's good. I think Zoe Stark, like Dragon Lee, is someone that she just needs to go out there and wrestle, and she'll get over.
With the right opponents, of course.
Yeah, linking with the right opponents for sure. She and Rhea Ripley, I thought, had a really good match here. The start was a little wonky and a little weird, but once it really got into it, it was like once around the spot of, I want to say like Rhea Ripley did some sort of like move off the top where Zoe Stark like flew around in the air and landed on her leg. At like that spot, whatever was happening there till the end, it really picked up pace and it got really going for a sub 10-minute match. I thought it was a really, really solid outing. Rhea Ripley just like oozes confidence and has been oozing confidence for so long, but here it was just like undeniable. Zoe Stark, I think she just needs something to get herself to that next level. And whether it be a new gimmick change or something, or whether it be just like we said of Dragon Lee, just going out there and wrestling, I think that is something that could be totally valuable for her. She has the potential. She doesn't have a lot of time because if I'm not mistaken, she's 29 years old, which in WB logic is too old, I guess. Actually, no, I take that back. She's actually pretty young. I take that back because Becky's 36, Bianca's 34, Charlotte's 37. Jesus Christ. Shotzi's 32 years old. Oh my God. Zoe Stark has plenty of time. Yeah, just keep her wrestling. Just keep her going out there. Zoe Stark, she's 29 years old. I thought she was older.
Rhea Ripley is unbelievable.
Yeah.
In like aura. And
yes.
I was like, I messaged you this during the match. I said, once upon a time in NXT UK, Rhea Ripley beat Toni Storm to become the first ever NXT UK Women's Champion. I said, I remember people being freaked out about that. Like, why? What happened? What was that decision for? WWE could not have been more right in that decision. And that isn't a shot at that actually isn't a shot at Toni, even though I don't like timeless Toni Storm. It is a credit to what they saw in Rhea Ripley. And while it took a while to get there, right? You know, she was this badass in NXT, and then she got called up, and Vince ruined her. But once the Judgment Day stuff started and Triple H took over, my God, she feels like the biggest star in the world. Like watching her run out there, I was like, it's hard, I think, for her opponents to stand out against her just because she feels like this huge presence. But Zoe did a really good job. Match was stiff. Match was hard hitting. Didn't overstay its welcome by any means. And I just think like this was probably Rhea's best title defense. If I had, I don't remember any of the others. I will remember this one.
Yeah, I totally agree. This was a good standout. I think you're right. Zoe could have easily gotten completely squashed like Raquel in the past.
Selena.
Like yes,
at Backlash.
Natalia.
It could have been anyone. I will say they need like all of that SmackDown roster to face Rhea because it's like, boy, it'll be Becky. Like they have Becky.
Yeah.
They're clearly saving that as they should because it's the only match.
Do you think Becky, though? Hold on. Do you think Becky? I wonder if the Becky Charlotte coming back together is to do a tag title gimmick.
That could happen, but I know they're saving the Becky match because they have not done it, and they're the only two on that roster that make any sense in the world.
Yeah.
for a big show. But I think for now it's a way to keep Becky on both shows, probably too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because what we have learned over the past couple months is Becky is a gigantic draw still.
Yeah, still very much still. Rhea Ripley, by the way, youngest female on this show, 27 years old.
Dude, she's only 27.
Yeah. I think the youngest person in the women's War Games match was 32, the oldest being Asuka at 42. But just
crazy.
like these women have like maybe 5 years more experience than Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley 5 years from now is a very interesting person. Like she already looks like she's nailing everything. I don't know
She's
where
gonna
she
main
goes from
event
there.
a WrestleMania, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
And she should.
Yeah.
Like I don't care. Like I don't care if I know some people don't like her matches. I don't think any of her other matches are her fault. To be fair, I think she's good when she gets to be in there with someone else. It's good.
Yeah, we did say Raquel, Natalia.
I don't find them to be good personally, so
so I think that's part of it. I would love to see. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I don't really know. It's hard to tell with WWE, but I would be interested to see if Rhea Ripley is a draw, and moves tickets and everything because I don't really actually know.
everyone moves tickets.
I know that's
right now.
I don't know. That's why I'm like it's WWE. Who the hell knows? Men's War Games match was your main event. Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, Seth Rollins, and the returning Randy Orton defeat the team of McIntyre and the Judgment Day. Of course, they did a little bit of angle here where it was like, oh, is Randy Orton showing up? Is Randy Orton showing up? Basically redoing the Kevin Owens NXT War Games match where it was like, oh, is your person going to be there? They'll be there. No worries. Randy Orton did show up. He made it even. And once he came out, he basically just destroyed everybody. And the baby faces won the match. But what do you think about the men's War Games match?
This match like really showed how strong WWE is right now, because the energy for this match from start to finish was off the hook. Like the Chicago crowd was crazy for them. Every single new wrestler that went in. Sami Zayn, huge pop when it was his time to go in. Freaking when Jey Uso's going in there and they're yelling yeet every time he punches someone. What? Cody Rhodes obviously is super over, right? The only thing is we didn't get the Cody Rhodes moonsault. Devastating stuff. He broke his toe on that, so that's probably why he didn't do it. He's like, you know what? I'm good.
He's like, I did it once.
Yeah. But like the energy of this match made the basic stuff just stand out. Like, right? They wrestled a very basic War Games match, all things considered. They didn't go over the top with anything, all to build to Randy, who was fantastic. Randy, like when the music hit, he's walking out there. I don't know if you ever watched like the WWE Evil documentary about him. Like when I'm sure you saw the video, like when he says like he gets into the state, like he puts his head down and like has the blood rush to his head. He was like that the whole time. He was out of his freaking mind. And he didn't have to do any bumps. He didn't have to do anything bad. He had a few RKOs. He hit the super RKO, which was obviously great, and they got the win. And him and Cody shared a moment. I would be A-okay with anything they decide with him, because he seems like in this part of his career is having the time of his life. And I will say this before I have to do something for my dog, so I'll be right back. But I will say this: Randy Orton is going to really I think he's going to have such a strong next year that I will be very interested in his observer case, because I think with the rated RK Bro stuff and this, I think he just has a new appreciation for wrestling in his older age. I think that's going to continuously push him up ballots and stuff like that, because man, I realized how big of a star he was all over again when he showed up.
Yeah. Randy Orton, interesting guy. Talking Hall of Fame case, which is very funny. Classic Randy Orton fashion, taking 0 bumps. No, I mean it's interesting. I tweeted out that it was like, maybe the retired wrestlers have a point. This guy comes out here, he's looking massive. I always forget how massive Randy Orton is every time he comes out. He's ginormous. He's just so big. He looked, and he didn't do much, right? He just came out there, did his stuff, did his classic things. The only bumps he took was the back bumps off those DDTs. And yeah, I mean, and then you get into the a great RKO of throwing JD McDonough off the top of the cage. That was beautiful. Just classic stuff from Randy Orton here. I think everybody played their part really well. It wasn't my favorite match of the night. Like I said, I like the Rhea Ripley Zoe Stark match more, but it was still a very solid match. They're doing stuff with Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre. So there's something there. Randy Orton is now back. So what does that WrestleMania match look like? What does Randy Orton now in 2023 going to 2024 look like? After a Lance Archer-esque back surgery.
That's what he looks like. Yeah, it looks like an absolute tank.
He's massive. Yeah, and I think it's just going to be interesting. I think you're right. I think there's the easy fallback of Vince McMahon era of we got to push Randy Orton to the moon and make him world champion again. But I'm interested to see how Triple H addresses the sort of Randy Orton. Are we going to start moving him off into sort of into like a legendary role than just I'm a guy on the roster role? I'm fascinated to see what happens with him.
I'd put him on SmackDown, actually, with Punk back and probably going on Raw.
So I saw Sean Ross Sapp report saying that there's been talks. He hasn't yet to confirm it, but there has been talks of CM Punk being a quote unquote free agent for the brands of Raw and SmackDown.
I think he just reported. He just put something on Select. Give me 1 second.
Sure. But yeah, I think everyone did their role perfectly fine. It wasn't my.
They probably run Roman and Randy at Royal Rumble. That was the match they wanted before he got hurt.
That is true. You can do Roman Randy at Royal Rumble. I saw a rumor also, I did mention before, but there's a rumor that Royal Rumble is CM Punk versus Rollins.
There was talk of Punk being a free agent, but he is scheduled for WWE Raw.
Yes.
There you go.
So we'll see what happens. Yeah, that's interesting. I
just think SmackDown could use if Raw gets CM Punk and Randy Orton, it's like,
yeah,
all right, well, good luck to that other show.
Yeah, that could work. I think you're right. I think moving over to SmackDown would be good. Raw has a bunch of other people, as we just saw, Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn, a bunch of other big time stars. They need to shove a couple of them over to SmackDown to make up for the lack of Roman, which I would argue is there a lack of Roman? But we'll see.
Let's just do this real quick before we move on for WWE. Who will suffer the most from CM Punk and Randy Orton being back?
Oh, Drew McIntyre, easily.
My answer is LA Knight.
LA Knight, interesting.
Because Drew McIntyre went heel, right? Yes. So for me, he'll be affected.
You're looking at the babyface side. You're looking at the babyface.
Yeah, I'm looking at the babyface side, and I think Sami Zayn's untouchable. I think Cody Rhodes is untouchable.
Cody Rhodes, yeah, definitely not.
Seth
Sami
Zayn
might get hurt a little bit, but I think
but like I didn't see him having a WrestleMania big main event or anything. Yeah. Like I think you could pair him off with Drew or something and it'd be fine.
What about CM Punk versus Sami Zayn? That's two faces. He can't do that.
Well, I mean,
that'd be great. I think that'd be a
great.
To
be fair, CM Punk could be healed by WrestleMania very easily. He's a very easy person. He could get booed out of the building still.
Mm-hmm.
You never know. Like CM Punk has a good superpower of getting booed.
Yeah.
Great heel work often. I think LA Knight because he is someone who isn't supposed to be where he is. The Sami Zayn story with Bloodline set him up to be where he is. Cody Rhodes is where he is because he's Cody Rhodes.
Yep.
Right? Seth Rollins is world champion. Jey Uso probably will get hurt, but like I look at Jey Uso and don't really think of like I never saw him having like this big, huge, gigantic thing anyways. So I do think it'll be LA Knight that gets hurt if Randy and CM Punk stay babyface.
I think ultimately the people that will get the first hurt are probably McIntyre and Uso. And then maybe a little bit of Sami Zayn, because if
they're both on Raw, absolutely.
Yeah, if CM Punk is staying on Raw, then McIntyre, Uso, maybe a little bit Sami Zayn, they're all immediately going to get hurt, and obviously
Plus,
everyone below
McIntyre
them.
gets the story with Punk.
Exactly. That could work. That could be an interesting feud. If you move someone over to SmackDown, if you move Punk to SmackDown, then yeah, your LA Knights, your Owens, all these people are going to start getting shoved down the card even more. I mean, LA Knight, Kevin Owens are already sort of in a tag team feud with Waller and Theory, but for no titles. But that's fine. So we'll see what really happens there. I think maybe that's the WrestleMania match. Maybe it's Judgment Day versus LA Knight and Kevin Owens or something. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I think people are definitely going to be hurt. McIntyre's going to be hurt, but I think he's just not going to resign, and then he's going to move off to
a lot of things
TNA.
get altered by CM Punk.
Oh, 100%. 100%. There's no reason not to. There's no reason not to think
they've directed the entire Raw around the Judgment Day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they were going to calm down on that anyway soon with the story now being over between Team Cody and presumably because they won they won comfortably.
Yeah,
like that wasn't even like a back. They won comfortably.
Well, now you could almost feud Randy Orton against the Judgment Day.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
You can
I think they also might want to tell the story with him and Jey Uso, since the Usos in kayfabe put Randy out last year.
You can have Cody go on and focus on the Royal Rumble, and then it could be interesting. You could do sort of a Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, Randy Orton versus the Judgment Day.
Yeah,
that would be interesting. That way you can have Randy start putting over guys like Damian Priest more. Now that Damian Priest is more established, that would be interesting. And then you could do you have the three guys. You have three guys there, so that
I'll tell you what, the Royal Rumble got very interesting.
Oh, indeed. Well then,
that's the most we've talked about WWE in forever, and
that's 100% accurate.
WWE just became a staple of this show again because of CM Punk.
Good for them. I appreciate the news.
They wanted the ring post radio rub. I get it.
Everybody does. It's a hot show, hot commodity. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about Stardom. So Stardom we're moving across the globe here. Stardom had what I can only describe as an eventful week this week. A lot of highs, a lot of lows.
See, for me, it's all highs because boy, oh boy, we already had the lowest of lows. That was the entire roster being hurt.
Well, yeah. I mean, it kind of continued of officially people being hurt and officially titles being vacated. But talk to me, Scotty. You were on top of it the whole week. Talk to us. Just go sort of, I don't know, day by day or whatever the best way to do this. Talk to the folks. I couldn't even write down everything that happened. And I know it's all in your brain.
Okay. Yeah, it's burned in my brain. All right. So there's a lot to talk about here. So we'll do step by step.
Okay.
We'll start with Katsuhiko Harada, former president of Bushiroad Fight, retiring. And
I love the quotes there. I love the
Taro
retiring.
Taro Okada taking over, who was running one of the branches of Bushiroad. He's running like their theater company.
Yeah.
He is now taking over as the new president. He opened up the press conference on Monday with the whole spiel and whatever. And this is where it gets interesting, and it is definitely something that is very true. Meltzer officially reported this, so I can obviously go in more on it. And that is that Harada was
the new president.
No, the old president.
President.
We don't know anything about the new one. Perfect. Like the new one's just like, I think he's just going to do his best to let the wrestling be the wrestling. Which is where we're getting to. Harada had his hands in Stardom a lot this year. To the point where he was affecting the booking, right? He had the idea of the Halloween show. He had the idea of the zombie stuff. He had the idea of the coffin matches. All this stuff that was so out of the ordinary over the past year and a half, in Stardom was Harada.
Oh, this stuff was mostly new blood, wasn't it?
No, Stardom and Showcase, which was
Stardom and
this
Showcase, yes.
WWE-esque type stuff that
Yes.
everyone was like, why is this happening?
Mhm.
Like this has nothing to do with the company. This has nothing to do with the show. And it sounds like there's a lot more powers at play here. To the point of frustration for Rossy Ogawa. Rossy Ogawa being the one, of course, who made Stardom what it is, who has pretty much booked Stardom to their popularity now. So this guy being gone, it sounds like they used so a few weeks ago they changed the start time of a Stardom show, like the day of, by a couple hours, which
Yeah.
for us, not that big of a deal. We're just like, okay, whatever. In Japan, it was gigantic. Kadani, the Bushiroad president, did a freaking like he was on the Gold Rush pay-per-view talking about it. The
Yeah.
investigation that they underwent and all things like that. So Dave said that they might have used that as the out to get Harada out,
Mhm.
which is big news. And here's how I will tell you how bad it was. Rossi said during the press conference, which was a very newsworthy one at that, he hopes that this allows the wrestling people to take care of the wrestling. Essentially, leave me the hell alone and let
Yeah.
me do my job,
Yeah.
which that's bad. And if you remember, there were rumblings a few months ago. Remember when we were talking about AEW and Stardom, Meltzer was, and he was like, I can't really talk about Stardom right now. I'm guessing it had to do with this. I'm
Yeah.
guessing, I don't know, if Rossi was ever going to leave or anything like that, but I'm sure there was frustration to the point where it was a very questionable future involving everyone involved. And that brings us to the Julia interview.
Well,
That
real
really
quickly, do you think that the former president of Bushiroad Harada was he the one maybe stopping a lot of the Stardom AEW crossovers, or do you think that was
no.
still like a Rossi idea?
I don't think I just don't think that like this has been a topic that's really been all that discussed,
Yeah.
truthfully. Like
It,
that'll come down to Rocky
yeah.
communicating with
But
them.
it sounds like at the very least that Rossi had less control of the booking, so how much control of that partnership he could have had if he was
Yeah.
interested in it. And number two, it sounds sort of like um I forget my second point, but
Yeah,
it sounds like Rossi didn't really have control of that. So if he wanted to do that, he wasn't really doing that.
sure.
Um,
Like overall, I think this is the best news possible because it feels like Rossi gets the power back. All the
sure,
best things that have happened with Stardom are mostly because of his booking,
yeah,
truthfully, especially over the past couple of years. It's why so many people have looked at this year and said, what is different about them? Harada's the one booking all these major shows, so
yeah,
nothing feels consistent with
yeah,
the company, right?
yeah.
Everything
This year was so cold and all over the place.
everything was so wonky.
Yeah,
Nothing, and Julia in her interview, which maybe this is an interview she's constantly taking because one, she's leaving, or two, she's Julia and she can say whatever else she wants. Like
hmm
these are both things. So she went as far as saying that they were destroying the thing Rossi Ogawa created. And
oof,
when you go as far as saying that,
yeah,
that is the ultimate, hey, let him do this. And it's and she was saying how she was pretty much sharing a lot of the roster's feelings towards this.
yeah,
They didn't agree with a lot of it. After the ladder match at Gold Rush, she said, "Can I just wrestle a normal match, please?" In the back, like when she got to the back, like her frustrations were through the roof. And when and you could tell, like
yeah.
with her, you can tell because she hasn't been the Julia that I think a lot of people appreciate. And that has been the overall feeling in Stardom this year. This is why it's all good news because it does feel like we're getting back. They haven't announced the Triangle Derby that kicked off the year in the most slow possible way last year.
Yep.
They haven't announced any of these things. It feels like there is now a fresh feeling again, and it's that it's all going to start on December 29th. But read that Julia interview, because she was so supportive of Rossi, like pretty
Mhm.
much saying like, he needs to let his vision be seen, and
This is what is working. This is what has been working for
yeah,
Stardom is his vision.
my favorite quote, and this is a little off, but she's like, "Yeah, we were really great the past 2 years, and then this." And it's like, okay, so they know, like they're aware.
They're really burying Harada
Yeah.
as we
She's
walk
like,
out.
I have all these rivalries, I have all these stories, and I'm not playing to any of them,
Yeah.
right? And that's been the main problem. Stardom's greatest achievement often is playing to the many stories of their wrestlers.
Mhm.
Julia hasn't done it a single time.
Yeah.
Tam Nakano had arguably the worst world title reign ever. Like, there's just so many things, and there's so many big shows. And also, Kadani, I think it was Kadani that said it, that they will no longer be doing major shows during their big
Yes.
tournaments,
Yes, that was also a huge part of it.
which is another lovely addition
Mhm.
to the many, many, many complications. So, with just between that, it's a better feeling
Yeah.
after a cold, up and down, limited focus year.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell what Rossi had his hands on and what Rossi didn't have his hands on throughout this story. Truthfully, like, you
Yeah.
can tell exactly what he was control over. And I point to the Queen's Quest story that resulted in the cage. I was like, that's a Rossi thing.
Yep.
100%. The cage match isn't to me, a WWE stip. That is a historic stip that was used in Joshi to tell
Yep.
stories. So that's a big thing. And I think overall, hopefully this means that, again, they can get back on track. Yes, there are still injuries to be dealt with. Yes, there are, so many questions, but as a Stardom fan,
Mhm.
as someone who covers this as deeply as I do,
Mhm.
I took pretty much everything from that as good news. And Rossi continues to tweet out like what his anger was. So like clearly I think he's now in a position of power.
Yeah.
Truthfully, like, he feels that, because listen, he walked out on All Japan once upon a time.
Mhm.
I'm sure he would have had no problem doing it again if he had to.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that was what he would have done, but frustrations get to a level where it's like, all right, enough.
Well, let's talk about Julia, someone that may or may not be walking
Mhm.
out the door. I mean, so right now there's the rumor of big Joshi fan Triple H potentially
Just
bringing
learned the
up
word.
possibly bringing up Julia to WWE. But I when you hear about this news and hearing really like Julia being the most vocal about it, I
Mhm.
wonder if, and I think you're right, it could either be Julia's on her way out the door, so she's just
Yeah.
kind of not really burning bridges, but just sort of like
Helping
doesn't
them
care.
on the way out, helping the roster in
Yeah.
many ways,
Yes.
willing to take the hit.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's very interesting. Um, or perhaps this is Julia being like, if we don't fix things, I'm gone. I'm
Yeah.
leaving. One of your biggest stars, if not your biggest star, I'm going to be walking out that door.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, I think that's a real possibility. We know that Julia wants to work in Stardom. We know she likes working with Rossi Ogawa.
Yeah,
I'm sure she
clearly
would.
she defended him in every which way on this
Exactly.
interview.
She clearly has love for this promotion.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, the money will be great in WWE, but surely she has loyalty and ties
Yeah.
to this company that she doesn't
I'm
want to
sure
lose.
Bushiroad can make the money pretty good, at least.
Exactly. So I really wonder if this is just a situation, especially with Triple H's response to sort of bringing in Julia of like, oh, we're just looking at big talent
Yeah.
from all angles. I wonder if it truly was just an idea of if we don't fix things, I'm gone.
Yeah.
Um,
I think so. I think they have a lot better shot at keeping her.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I'll say that. I won't say they can, because, again, she could be out the door. She is someone that are understandably could do big things elsewhere. But if there were ever a chance to keep her, it would be after this. It would be after the changes,
Yeah.
because now we're in a wait and see. How much control does Rossi have back? Where can they book and where can they go?
Yep.
I think they were setting up certain people with the idea that she'd be gone anyways. But if you're Bushiroad, if you're Stardom, you are doing everything in your power to keep her. And this is another good sort of news for you, in that Julia she may have went from having 2 feet out the door to maybe 1.
Yeah.
At least, right? Which is better than nothing.
Exactly. Well, no fee at the door would be better, I imagine. So maybe
That
nothing.
is true. Okay, well, no feet out the door, locked in, signed to a new contract. That would be great.
Yeah.
But that's March. That's March.
How do you think? This is just a thought I have. This may be a conspiracy theory thought. I don't know. Do you think at all this sort of affects the Mercedes Moné relationship with Stardom / Bushiroad? The whole idea was with Mercedes coming in is that she was really working with Bushiroad more than Stardom, because Bushiroad had more of the capital than Stardom did.
Yeah.
Do you think that could have led to some of Bushiroad getting more involved in Stardom's booking? Do you think this might hurt Mercedes working with Stardom moving forward? Where do you think this sort of maybe affects the Mercedes Moné aspect of it all, if it affects anything at all?
I'm gonna guess it probably doesn't have much effect. We don't know anything about Mercedes Moné at this point. Like,
Fair.
nothing. No one knows a thing. I highly doubt that it was this guy that had anything to do with it. Like, if anything, it was Kadani and company making sure they got her, and we're like, hey, can you book her on your show? Sure. Yep. Right. Like, I don't think Harada probably had much to do with it. But again, you never know. Like, you never know for sure. But I feel confident that if she does want to come back, she will easily come back.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I can certainly agree with that. Well, they also had more news starting.
Yeah, let's get into the more news. The more news is a lot. So
yeah, I was going to say that we already knew that some people were injured, and some people being a lot of people, but it was officially announced that Tam Nakano is officially on that injured list, and she is relinquishing the World of Stardom title. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they also relinquished Natsupoi is also injured, so they relinquished the Goddess of Stardom titles as well.
So all these titles are relinquished, and some people may look at this. I know a lot of people are sad about Tam dropping the belt, whatever. To me, it is the ability to now move forward. Yeah. Rather than having this big looming question mark that they've had over them for a month now. They can now move forward. The reality is Suzu Suzuki is supposed to be World of Stardom champion right now. That is the reality.
Yes, the report was, I believe, from Dave Meltzer from The Observer, said that Suzu was scheduled to win the title.
She was going to win the title. She was going to be main eventing the Queendom as is. So everyone that thought that her winning and then challenging early was a bad thing, no, it was a plan to get the main event that Rossi wanted in the main event, and that had nothing to do with Tam Nakano. So ultimately, there's a few ways to look at this. One, Tam's reign ends as one of the worst World of Stardom title reigns ever. I'm not even going to hide that fact. She had the title since April. She defended it, I think, 3 times. She defended it once against Amina in a double title match, once against Megan Bain, and another against Natsuko Tora. That was part of the many Stardom problems this year. The world title was just not defended.
Yeah.
At all. I don't know if anyone remembers this. The past 2 years, what have been the bright spots? The titles being defended, right? Utami's record reign, Shuri's record reign. All these things just came to a crashing halt this year. Tam's reign was never, ever even close to the potential it had. So, to me, the only bad thing is, yeah, she's hurt. Of course, you don't want anyone to be hurt. But you get to move forward. What sucks is Suzu Suzuki has now lost her moment.
Yeah. Well, she can still get it back by eventually winning the world title.
She can, but
she doesn't
beating
get the rub.
Tam
She doesn't
as
get any rub
opposed
out of this.
beating Tam as opposed to beating Micah, which, newsflash, people, it's going to be Suzu versus Micah, is a very different feeling. And I don't even know if they will push it now. Like, they could just wait to give her a bigger moment later at this point. That everything is in play here.
Yeah.
Because she is not world champion right now. And if everyone watched the press conference or saw pictures from the press conference, she was noticeably angry. She's been angry about it. Like, she knew this was her moment. She was going to be a 21 years old in the World of Stardom champion.
Yep.
She is not penciled in. She is confirmed as one of the future top stars of this company. And she'll get her moment. That's without a doubt. But boy, oh boy, would it have nice to beat Tam. And now, yes, the Goddess of Stardom titles are also relinquished. But this is where the real good news comes in, of course. So Megan Bayne and Micah will, of course, won the tag league. They'll get their shots at the titles. And then, of course, after all the crazy news, right? We have the titles being vacated. Suzu's gonna fight Hazuki for her shot on the line at the pay-per-view.
Yes. Give me a run through the pay-per-view lineup real quickly.
Yeah, we're having 1 second. We're having a one-night tournament at the Korakuen to decide the other contender. It's between Micah, Ami Sourei, LOL, Mina Shirakawa, and Momo Watanabe. You can figure out Micah's probably winning that. And of course, we have a pay-per-view to build to, which, like you said, the pay-per-view card, it's Nanai Takahashi versus the Scandinavian Hurricane Alice Inc. in a UWF rules match.
Yep.
We will have the tag title match. It'll be Megan Bayne and Micah versus
tournament winner.
Team to be actually, it's not even a tournament winner. It's just a team to be named. We'll get to that in a second.
Okay. Julia versus Azumi for the Strong Women's Championship.
Yes, your likely main event, Julia and Azumi for the title, which will be a lot of fun. High speed title, May Sarah versus Tekla.
And that's everything announced so far.
And Suzu versus Suzuki, like I said, that will be on this show. So pretty quickly packed card here. And this is where it gets good. Of course, after the God of Stardom title stuff, after they said, they'll fight for the vacant titles, Tommy Hayashishita and Saya Kamatani made their heroic return to the company. A much needed return to the company, by the way. They show up together. They, it's just like, that was like the first moment I was like, oh my God, we're on the way back, baby. Fine. We're on the way back.
Not back yet. We're on the way.
We're on the way. These two coming back, though, add so much star power, add so much excitement. Saya being back after being gone for so long, obviously, is like great to see. And they are likely going to be wrestling for those tag titles. And I'd say winning those tag titles with Micah set up for the world title match at Queendom. So
I agree.
Instant spark, I would say. There's still a lot of injuries. There's still a lot of people to come back. I think at this point with the injuries, some people are just precautionary. We're just keeping them out because they're not needed right now. Tam not support different, but like Mayu Iwatani, for example, all she did was dislocate her pinky. That's all she did. If she needed to wrestle, she'd probably be there, but she's a lot more important now for January 4th than she is this upcoming weekend, right? They need her for that. So keep her out, keep her healthy. And I think things are pointing up, even though titles have been vacated. I think things couldn't be more pointing up because now they have a direction. Now they can move forward. And now Queendom can finally take shape. And it's pretty crazy that your next World of Stardom champion will either be Suzu Suzuki, Hazuki, Micah, Mina Shirakawa, Momo Watanabe, or Ami Sourei. But it's someone new, no matter what.
I think you're right. I think this weekend, Nagoya Big Winter is the show. This has I think it's on Saturday, December 2nd. It's going to be a lot of resetting, I feel like, this weekend, and really trying to get back onto the course. Dream Queendom 3 really has a potential to really put things back into place. I think you're right. I think Suzuki is easily winning this main event against Suzuki. I think that'd be weird for her to lose all of a sudden.
Yeah, she'll be fine.
I think
that was
you're
just
right.
a way to give them a good match.
Exactly. I think you're right. I think Micah winning could also be interesting. That was, if I'm not mistaken, Micah Suzuki. That was also the 5-star Grand Prix final, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure was. It's the only story this year that has lasted more than like a few months.
So why not run it back, baby?
So it shouldn't be shocking that it is what Rossi's going with to close out the year.
Yeah, and then probably, like you said, Utami and Saya Kamatani winning the tag titles up this weekend as well, setting up something down the line for Dream Queendom. And then
there's a lot of teams they can make work, and it's Utami and Saya in a big match.
Yeah,
it literally doesn't matter who they face. Truthfully,
exactly.
They'll give them someone good though, I'm sure.
So yeah, I think it's been a very eventful week. I think it's been a big week of rewriting ships. I really hope, I sent in a Slack message to you, I really hope that the former president for Bushiroad was not a fall guy, but actually was the guy. I hope this isn't just sort of like a thing, a presser to sort of patch things up for the public, and then we'll get back to what we're doing. I hope this is actually like, oh yeah, he was at fault, and we're kicking him out to the curb, and things are going to go back on track pre-2023 for Stardom again. Yeah, exactly. I think the next month is going to be very interesting to see how Stardom does and is run and is booked, and then Dream Queendom 3 is the way to really get us back on course for Stardom having a better 2024.
We all look to the final 2 weeks of the year as the big start for Japanese wrestling.
Yeah.
So they'll have Dream Queendom on the 29th. They have a Yokohama Budokan pay-per-view on the 3rd, and then on the 4th is the brand new Tokyo Dome City Hall show.
Itidion Stardom Gate.
Yes, that will be the show where the IWGP title's on the line. So those 3 shows will be very important in kicking off
back to back, pretty much.
Yeah. So those are the ones you look for. I think Dream Queendom won't be a single show to kick it off, just because they have the 2 big shows to kick off the year. Yeah. But that's the start. Everything until then, just accept where we're at.
Yep.
And I think that's where, if anyone's trying to get back into Stardom, that's where you should start, is Dream Queendom. Rather than a conclusion to the year, it's a start for what's next.
It feels like a night 1 of a 3-night extravaganza.
Classic. They really took the WrestleMania thing to heart and said, let's do 3 nights.
I was watching, there was that CM Punk clip going around of like, oh yeah, MJF, you go to WWE, go to the other place and go work on night 4 of a buy one get one, and everyone's like, oh yeah, CM Punk, what a hypocrite, back working these buy one get ones. And I'm here thinking, MJF is currently doing buy one get ones every single show.
I was just say, I don't know if WWE does buy one get ones anymore. I think they just sell their tickets normal.
Yeah, I think they're actively selling their
tickets. Sure in like a few cities they have, but that's like, if you're going to go back to Corpus Christi, Texas, what do you expect?
Last bit of news before we close out the show here. The Continental Classic is officially underway for AEW. We officially found out who was competing in the Continental Classic last Wednesday, a couple hours before Dynamite aired, with matches for the tournament. And then, of course, Collision last night also had some matches air as well, which I watched as well. Scotty, I think you've only seen Dynamite so far.
I just haven't seen Eddie and Brody yet, which I'm told is easily the best match. So
yes, I thought it was easily the best match. But
that's tough.
Before I don't really want to break down matches here. I just want to, now that the tournament has started and there isn't really a lot of stuff to preview, let's see if we can try to get excited at this point about the wrestlers that have officially been announced and how we feel about the announcements of who is in each league. So we have these two leagues, gold and blue. On the gold league, we have Jon Moxley, Jay White, Swerve Strickland, Roosh, Jay Lethal, and Mark Briscoe. So talk to me, Scotty. We'll start there first. What do you think about the gold league? How do you think that gold league shapes out for you?
It's comfortably the weakest, even though I think it's the most top heavy.
Yeah.
I think like the Mox, Roosh, Jay, Swerve, like that's the best four of either block.
And Roosh is fourth on that, I would argue.
Yeah.
For us, he's like two.
Yeah, exactly. Moxley's like fourth in my excitement level right now. Just because I think I'm used to Mox and what he does.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Jay Lethal's the worst of the entire tournament by far.
Yeah.
I watched his match with Swerve and I was like, why is this so boring? I was like, he's just such a boring wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I think the league looks good, and I like that it has great matchups, right? We're getting Swerve and Jay White this upcoming week.
Yep. Roosh versus Mark Briscoe, honestly.
That's probably gonna be incredible.
Give me some of that 2019 ROH, baby.
Give me Roosh versus everyone. Roosh is incredible right now.
Yeah.
It's funny because like I just think
Roosh
challenges
versus
AEW.
Moxley. Hold on, Roosh versus Moxley.
That could be like Danielson versus Roosh from earlier this year.
I know.
Oh man, they should have just ran that back. And now that I think about it, though, they probably want to keep Danielson healthy. So that's probably a good idea. They do. No, not really, because I've seen the rest of the block. It's gonna be bad for him either way.
Yeah.
I think it's a good league. I think Jay Lethal is such a letdown. Like everyone said, like, oh, there's gonna be like one or two bad wrestlers because you just know it.
Yeah, you gotta get some pin eaters out there.
But could they have picked a better, more entertaining pin eater? Like, give me a luchador, like a full-on luchador that can lose.
I would have greatly enjoyed adding. I think the problem,
or a young guy. I liked the young guy in
I like Daniel Garcia being in the other block. I think one of my big things is I think a lot of these guys are very similar. Like we got a lot of brawlers, technicians, and that's kind of it.
Especially in this block.
Yeah, I mean, the only luchador is like Andrade and Roosh, and they aren't. I mean, Roosh is a brawler, and Andrade is just sort of like
Andrade is far more grounded now.
Yes, so he's not really luchador in any capacity. I agree with you. A Pentagon in this. Pentagon would have easily made sense in this group.
Yeah, they have him lose all the time. Wouldn't have been that tough.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not really the biggest thing. If Bandito could have returned, that could have easily worked as well. I think adding my point there being going off of what you said about bringing the luchador is I think a lot of these guys are brawlers and technicians. If we brought in more styles like a luchador, or I don't know, even if you put like Colt Cabana to eat a bunch of pins, he's not going to be anything in here, but just sort of like comedy. I know it's the Toru Yano thing of it all, but like something just to give a different energy to it. So not all the matches look the same a little bit. That could have been interesting. Dustin Rhodes in this would have been interesting.
They nailed that with Jay Lethal. All of his matches don't look the same as all the other ones. His is boring as shit.
That might be fair. I just think like someone like, putting a Keith Lee in here could have been interesting. I mean, he's a big dude. That could have been fun. There's options is basically what I'm trying to say.
That is true. I will say
there's also Takeshita that a lot of people were upset about. Is Takeshita actively being like, I really want to be in this. I always wanted to be a Triple Crown winner and then not getting booked for the tournament. I think is a fascinating result.
The handling of Takeshita has been laughable.
Yeah.
And again, highlights the problems with AEW. Oh, this guy is super over. He beat Kenny Omega. Let's not do anything with him.
Yeah, it's been rough. But yes, right now, Moxley, Jay White, Swerve, all 3 points. Roosh, Jay Lethal, and all have 0 points. Next up, we have, I believe it's Moxley, Jay Lethal, Roosh, Mark Briscoe, and Jay White versus Swerve Strickland. Redoing a match from earlier this year in New Japan. Fun fact.
I think they'll have to be 20-minute time limit.
Yes, they're 20-minute time limits. If we officially found out, I guess we officially found out beforehand, maybe. I don't know. It was like 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, 0 points for a loss.
Can't be having Jay and Swerve lose.
No. Blue League, Gwen Evans points out that the biggest Continental Classic story is if Danielson will get injured before the finals. I think that's fair.
I'm pretty sure he's still injured.
Yeah, but he's still technically, he did not wrestle a Collision, so he's already starting off poorly. But right now, Blue League, you have Claudio Castagnoli, Brody King, Eddie Kingston, Daniel Garcia, Bryan Danielson, and Andrade El Idolo. What do you think about the Blue League here?
Doesn't have the high of highs like the other one, but it doesn't have the lows of lows. It is a consistent across the board type league.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot of exciting matchups, aka Danielson versus everyone.
Yep.
I'm very excited to run back Danielson versus Garcia. I kind of hope that's the match they use to get Garcia back to being Garcia.
Yep, I agree.
Please, for the love of God, I watched the Claudio match and I was like, we're this close. We are this close. Just keep pushing it. And if that's what they're using this tournament for, then great. Danielson, I'm excited to see back, obviously, because AEW needs him very badly. I need him to stay healthy too. I need us to get to him versus Okada. I need a lot of things to happen revolving this guy, and I don't feel good about any of it, but I'm excited nonetheless.
I'm very nervous about him being in a tournament against Eddie Kingston, Brody King, Claudio, Andrade. Like, I'm very nervous. This could easily go poorly for old Bryan Danielson.
The best, maybe my favorite part of this bracket is that they got Brody King in a singles environment.
I agree. I love Brody King in this spot. He is a sizable pin eater, but can easily be an upset guy like last night in a Collision, pick up a win over Eddie Kingston. He can easily be an upset guy. He is kind of like, for me, Brody King is almost in that Roosh spot where it's like, oh, he can easily eat pins, but he could also easily upset some wins.
Yeah, and he's been like the one consistency in House of Black that isn't named Julia Hart, I guess. Which is a different conversation.
Yeah.
That I'm excited to see. I'm happy they picked him over the other two.
Also going into this tournament injured, by the way.
Yeah, this is also true. Eddie, obviously, I'm excited about. This is his type of thing, and I think he will succeed a lot better in this one as opposed to the G1. One, because it's not night after night, and two, I don't know. I just think the AEW fans get him. I mean, the New Japan fans really liked him as well, but I just think this is easier for him to kind of create a story. He's already down one, right? All of his titles are on the line. It's a great story to go with him pulling off some big upsets down the line against a Claudio, perhaps. You know, the story there for him, Danielson, so on and so forth.
We'll get a Claudio Danielson match. We get a little BCC match.
Love that. I think Claudio's a beast. He was perfect for this tournament. I said to myself, can they keep out the 3 Blackpool Combat Club guys? Because I feel like they're all going to want in it. The answer was no. They simply just put them all in it. I was like,
I'm fine with it. I thought of it.
It's stupid, by the way, that Kenny Omega is not in this tournament. I just want to, I can't stress that enough, how stupid on the surface that is, that he continues to be a tag team wrestler. Like, what?
Yes.
I don't understand the obsession. I don't understand the obsession with him being a tag team trios wrestler. I don't get it. I do not get it. I will never get it. He's fine. I've seen him wrestle these singles matches. I know he's fine.
The Elite Verse, nowhere to be found in this tournament, which is a damn shame, gotta say. But it almost is more of like this is a collision. This is a collision tournament than anything else, if that makes sense.
When I saw Roosh on Dynamite, I was like, this is weird.
Yeah, haven't seen him since January, since that Danielson match.
I was like, this is not something I was expecting to happen, but okay.
But yeah, I like Claudio in here. I like Brody. I really like being in the spot. Eddie makes sense. Daniel Garcia is a great spot to be in as well. Danielson, obviously great. Andrade will be fine. I'm going to echo Gwyn Evans' comment in the chat. Claudio's made for tournaments. Him versus Brody is going to be great. Yeah, Claudio versus Brody will be great. Brody versus, honestly, I think Brody versus Andrade would be very interesting to me. I just want to see what that looks like. Yeah, I think Blue League looks very good. It's just a matter of will Danielson die before the tournament's over? Is the
promises.
No promises. That's the big question. And then, of course, well, before we move on, I also want to address the Eddie Kingston of it all. He's putting his titles, the Ring of Honor World title and the New Japan Strong title, on the line. Yeah. And it seems like what all of this means is the titles are now sort of in purgatory.
Yeah.
Where they're being defended in the overall tournament, not match by match. Brody King pins Eddie Kingston tonight.
The winner gets them.
Yes. So currently the titles are being sort of held. For some reason, I want to say the word abeyance. I feel like that's a WWE-ass word, is abeyance. They're basically being in purgatory. Abeyance is a proper word. They're currently being held in purgatory, held in abeyance. And then whoever wins the tournament becomes the new Ring of Honor World Champion, the New Japan Strong Champion, and this mystery belt that is either done and waiting, or I'm going to guess, funny enough, probably not finished. And they're like, just put a belt in there. just make it look, we'll make it a mystery. We'll make the belt, because this tournament does feel last minute. That's why that makes it funny to me. Yeah, I think that's the most clarity we got on this Eddie Kingston stuff. It's just, everything is held in purgatory until whoever the winner is.
Eat your heart out, final battle. Eat your heart out.
Yeah. Tough. So that being said, if the world title is being held in suspension up until World's End, which, if I'm not mistaken, is after Final Battle, it's like correct. A week or maybe after Final Battle.
Week or two, yeah.
Then, 2 weeks afterwards. Then there will presumably be no world title match at Ring of Honor Final Battle this year.
Athena versus Ronda Rousey. Sell all the tickets.
That will probably be your main event.
If Ronda's even doing it.
If Ronda's even doing
I don't
it.
even know.
The tag titles, who the hell knows what's happening with those. The TV title was supposed to be Shibata versus Yuta, and they just did
pure
Yeah,
title.
the pure title, yes. The pure title was supposed to be Shibata versus Yuta, but Shibata apparently has to go to Japan immediately, and so they just ran that on Rampage.
Hook.
Yeah, now we're looking like it's going to be Yuta versus Hook at Final Battle, which, all right. And then the TV title is also floating around there. I think I read somewhere that there's like a survival of the fittest match or something happening for that. I don't know, but
that's a choice.
Yeah, it's right now there's currently Ring of Honor Final Battle looks real bad. Kind of really real bad.
I don't know why this brand still exists.
It's been a rough year. Remember last year we were all like, yeah, hyped up on Ring of Honor. We got the Briscoes versus FTR. We're all getting into it. Match of the year contender, match of the year winner for a lot of people. Here we are a year later, and it's like, this brand sucks. It's dead. Nothing's happening. Yes, for a fact, Ring of Honor World TV title, survival of the fittest 6-way elimination match will be happening at Final Battle with people in it. We don't know who.
Will they have the Kingdom beat MJF on that show?
I would.
MJF's on the poster, so it looks like he will be there.
That's good for him.
I would is too, though. So
yeah. So I don't know, man.
You got Yuta on the poster really quick.
Yeah, good for him. I don't know what's happening with Ring of Honor. This Ring of Honor brand's deader than a doornail.
It should just go away.
It's literally it's been 2 years, and it's like, oh, is Ring of Honor. Let's have this conversation. Is Ring of Honor in a better spot than it was with the Sinclair era?
No, it's not in a better spot. At least it was a brand back then.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the only good thing I can say about the Tony Khan version of Ring of Honor is that like the pay-per-views have mostly all been great.
What was the last pay-per-view? I don't even remember it.
Death Before Dishonor. ROH Death. I'll tell you what it was. Okay, give me a
I'm
second.
also looking it up.
Here we
Death
go.
Before
Here was the
Dishonor.
show. You had Josh Woods defeat Tracy Williams on the pre-show. You had Action Andretti and Darius Martin defeat the Workhorsemen. You had Layla Hirsch defeat Trish Adora. AR Fox defeat Shane Taylor.
Get
And
off
then
the pre-show.
on the main show, you had Gravity defeat Command. Oh my God, Gravity. That's when we got Gravity, and he's so bad. Ugh, I hate that guy. He's so bad. Samoa Joe defeated Dalton Castle.
Oof.
With the title on that was 13 minutes. Aussie Open defeated the Lucha Bros, the Kingdom, and Best Friends to win the tag titles.
That was
Remember
the one.
Aussie?
Was that the one where no. Okay, no, that was just the 4-way.
Mogul Embassy's Brian Cage, Bishop Khan, and Toa Leona defeated Leon Ruffin, Master Wato, and Ryusuke Taguchi.
Don't remember that at all.
Katsuyori Shibata defeated Daniel Garcia.
All right, apparently that was good.
The Dark Order defeated Stu Grayson and the Righteous in a
That was
fight
actually
without
pretty good.
honor.
That was actually a pretty good match.
Claudio defeated Pac. I remember that because Pac had to get pushed into that because Eddie left
for the G1 or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then Athena versus Willow Nightingale. All right, so the last pay-per-view was good.
8.73 on Cage Match.
But here's the problem. Everything else is useless. I have talked before on the show of how good the empty arena Ring of Honor shows were during the pandemic. They were really good.
We both
really
did.
Good wrestling. I don't know if here's the thing. I don't know if they're better off, but at the same time, at least
surely they're making more money.
Well, yeah. Are they?
At the peak,
are they making money?
At the peak Ring of Honor AEW, they said that they had 15,000 subscribers, so that was $150,000 a month roughly on top of that pay-per-views.
That's true. I guess the way we can look at it is
I would also argue that they don't have 15,000 subscribers anymore.
True.
So you're what? Let's just say half. Let's say 7,000, 7,500 or something. They're making 75,000 a month.
Yeah.
Plus pay-per-views.
I guess it's better off now, but
yeah, how much was the Sinclair deal? That's the question. I'll look this up. Yeah, it's not that good. Continental Classic, that's what we were talking about too. I don't know.
My pick, by the way, is probably Moxley and Kingston.
Well, so they're doing league tournament finals and then finals.
Right. Okay.
So who do you want to win the Gold League, or who do you want to be the semifinals, I guess, of the Gold League? Who do you want to be the semifinals of the Blue League, and then who do you want to win overall?
Gold League, I'd get Swerve in there.
Yeah.
And I guess Moxley probably, because I just don't see him losing enough. And then Eddie and Danielson, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That would make the most sense. And then I just think Mox and Eddie's the best story. Because, duh.
I agree. I
mean, for World's End question mark?
Yep, World's End.
Show? Having them plus MJF versus Joe, that is a good 1-2. Well, hopefully it's a good 1-2 punch. I never know how to feel about MJF matches anymore. Here's me hoping MJF goes into the match 100% healthy and 100% fine, because I really liked their last match. I thought Samoa Joe versus MJF was great the first time around. So hopefully those two are kind of the matches you highlight. Then whatever the hell the Young Bucks are doing, then whatever the show goes That's a month away. So time to
Yeah.
really speed that into
Full gear. Speed that into full gear.
I was trying not to say it.
Well,
we'll
here's
see.
here's a better question for you, because I can't look up the Sinclair numbers. Obviously, I think it looks like it might have been purchased in 2011 for under 10 mil.
Sure.
Tony Khan doesn't. Who cares about that? Tony Khan purchases it for under 4 mil. Do we think that Tony Khan has gotten that return on the investment? Has he gotten roughly $4 million for Ring of Honor in these past 2 years?
No way.
So $150,000 a month, if they had 15,000 and they kept it for 24 months, would be $3.6 million.
No.
Yeah, and there's no way they kept that many subscribers for 2 years.
No way. And they definitely didn't get in like tickets or anything yet either.
No,
they run small buildings.
When they run the tapings and then they run, whatever pre-show collision, they're darks now.
Here's what's really important. I need to see how the show. I need to see how Final Battle is doing ticket wise. My God, Survivor Series. Have yourself some time. That's insane. They sold so many tickets. Battle in the Valley. Hard to Kill has only sold 539 tickets. That is the same day as Battle in the Valley, which has sold 1,057.
Ugh.
Battle in the Valley. I don't know if you know this. They haven't announced even anything. They just put Will Ospreay on a poster. That's it.
Perfect. Perfect.
Well, I thought TNA coming back would be exciting, but I was wrong.
Well, we talked about when TNA announced it. They said they were going to run bigger stadiums and everything, and it seems like part of that plan was to bring in CM Punk, and that didn't pan out.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Which I talked about at the time when it came to like CM Punk, or talked about it more when it came to Ospreay. Surely they're going to try to get one of these big guys so they can sell some bigger arenas.
Ospreay. Yeah, they didn't get anyone. I don't think we're not up to it. Well, World's End's selling really well. They only have 1,000 tickets left in the current setup.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
AEW pay-per-view. It's not that big of an accomplishment. NXT Deadline has sold 2,451.
How many did you say World's End sold?
6,000.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I would hope they would outsell NXT.
So pay-per-view buys for Ring of Honor somewhere, anywhere between like maybe 20 to 25,000 or something. I'm looking at one number that has Final Battle last year. Were down from Death Before Dishonor, and they were at 25,000. So I'm just gonna say 25,000. How much do you think the Ring of Honor pay-per-views cost? I'm trying to remember. Like $40?
$40, I think.
So let's say $40 is $1 million for a gate, or for a pay-per-view, for the pay-per-view distribution, times, let's just say $5 million is what we're saying here. So yeah, he would have in theory gotten his return on investment depending on the pay-per-view buys. Okay, so there we go. Ring of Honor is a success. It just it became a success as it died more. Sounds like another company in the Tony Khan family. Boy. All right.
Final Battle. That's what I'm looking for. Here we go. Last update was November 17th, and they had sold 877 tickets
for an arena size to
3,722.
And how many did you say Deadline? Was it 2,000?
They've already sold 2,000. Though it is sooner.
Not that much sooner, I don't think.
It is. One second. It is a week after.
It is a week before. Oh, yeah.
Oh, So let's talk about it. Who is Tony Khan? That isn't, by the way, that show is in 2 weeks essentially. uh who is Tony Khan forcing on the AEW roster to work that show?
I mean, Swerve. We're gonna do Swerve.
It's always Swerve.
It's Swerve versus Keith Lee. It's Swerve versus Keith Lee, baby. Final battle. Here we come.
That would be fine, actually.
Oh my god! Are we gonna call up Ninja Mac? We need to call up
Jesus.
Noah's Ninja Mac to try to get some
this is your
cheaper wrestlers.
What I need Tony Khan to do with Ring of Honor is just go full nerd with the booking and just like book the most random, like hardcore matches, and just hope that gets people in the building.
Well, I think the number one thing
he picks terrible locations, by the way, for these Ring of Honor shows.
We got to do. I think. What are we doing, Scotty? What are we talking about? AEW roster members. We got to look at the Ring of Honor roster page. All right, let's look at this.
He loves doing this, and it's never better.
Never been updated. Never been. Okay, well, okay, perfect. We got Chris Jericho. He can work Final Battle. Mercedes Martinez, Dax Harwood, the boys. All these people, they can work it. They can work Final Battle. That's fine.
It's a good show today. It's a good show.
This god damn this show. That is it,
man.
December 15th, Garland, Texas. That is it for this week's episode of Ring Post Radio, folks. Scotty, we talked about CM Punk, we talked about Survivor Series, we talked about Stardom, and we talked about Ring of Honor for some reason. But if there was more things you want to talk about, more things that you want people to go to, what could those things be?
You follow me at Scotty Wrestling on X. That's where you can see my tweets and stuff.
Your posts.
Most of it's just Stardom news. That's all it was this week. It was a holiday week. Hope everyone had a happy holiday week, whatever the hell it's called.
We were too distracted by CM Punk to talk about how Thanksgiving went for us.
It's hard. Like I said, it's something I still am unsure that actually happened. Not Thanksgiving, CM Punk. I just want I know Thanksgiving happened. Felt every bit of it. What else? We are supposed to have a new Stardom Road episode this week, but Trent has no internet right now and hasn't for a week. So yeah. Australia is not helping him or something. So we might have a double. You might just have to get back-to-back weeks starting next week. But make sure to tune in because it's Jungle Kiona, and I know a lot of people love Jungle Kiona. And that's Trent's favorite wrestler, so he's leading that one. And then what else? Oh, match of the week, perhaps. Oh, Jesus. I watched nothing this week.
Apparently, more than 10 million Australians have been cut off from internet and phone services nationwide.
Oh, I wonder if Trent knows that. Hope he does.
Give him a call. Ooh.
I might have to give him 4 inches. Hey, Trent.
Send him a letter.
Yeah, I'll get there in 5 to 7 business days.
Well,
my match of the week was from the world's Real World Tag League. That's
Real World Tag League. All right, you watching it?
Yeah, of course I am. They have the best tag team of the year in it. And my match of the week involves the best tag team of the year. It was Kenta Miyahara and Yuma Aoyagi versus Riki Honda and Yuma Anzai. That was really, really good.
Which night of World Tag League was this?
Whatever the 19th was.
Perfect.
It was November 19th.
All right, I gotta look this up then.
It was really good.
I heard that was good. I also heard that there was a draw, I think, from the Saito brothers or something that was really good as a main event.
That's crazy.
I'm not entirely positive.
Could be. The Saito brothers.
Apparently, they had a good match.
They're getting good. Finally.
The Saito brothers? The Saito brothers?
Yeah, they're figuring it out.
Well, that's good for them. Good for them.
Well, they're very different. They're like a big powerhouse team.
Yeah, that's true. You can follow me on Twitter at Ryan Knights. You follow the whole show at CountOutPod. My match of the week is I'm catching up. I'm going through my backlog of the year. Scotty, I watched Kento Miyohara versus Katsuhiko Nakajima
Jesus
from
Christ.
One Night Dream.
That's absurd.
I'm catching up.
Absurd.
I'm catching up right now.
Watched that. I can't. I would have pushed that to the front of my list so much sooner than you did.
Would it be upset you if I tell you I still haven't watched the Stardom Steel Cage match?
Well, you've just absolutely lost the moment since, but that's cool. That's awesome. You need to. Here's what you need to do. All right, everyone. This is an intervention for the way Ryan watches wrestling.
Okay.
You need to stop focusing on Rampage and Collision and Dynamite, and you need to go back and watch all the things that were actually great this year. Thanks, pal. That's more important, because here's the thing, right? You're going to need to put a match of the year list together, a wrestler of the year list together. What are you going to do if you don't watch Nakajima versus Miyahara on the last night of the year? Huh? When are you going to do it?
I'll watch it in June the following year, of course.
That's great. Can't wait to see your list then. Yeah, when you put your Voice of Wrestling voting in for match of the year and you can't fill out half of it because you didn't see all the year-end matches, it's going to be great.
What do you think I'm catching up on? What do you think I'm trying to do is do that?
But my point is, you're not going to get caught up. You just watched Nakajima versus Miyahara. By the way, great match. Far better than I gave it credit for at the time, because I don't think I watched it fully.
Look, I only have, according to my list, 241 matches to watch.
Okay, you could easily axe 100 of those.
I probably could. A lot of them are probably Rampages, MLWs, Collisions.
Stop watching Rampage! The fact you just said MLW is actually disgusting.
Oh man!
You know, I was gonna watch an MLW match from their past pay-per-view.
Yeah,
but I'm like 25 matches behind, so I said, you know what? I'm not gonna watch it. It's pretty easy. I think this is the skill you need to learn. You need to learn to skip the things that you know aren't going to be a match of the year contender or anything like that. Like, I know, I understand MLW has given you some of your favorite moments in history. I understand that you even went on this show and said you wish MJF was more like The Miz. I understand all these things that you are hoping for the world of pro wrestling, but it's okay to skip some of these matches.
I know you said you're excited that Alex Hammerstone has returned to MLW before, Ryan.
See, no one actually believes that one, because I don't care about MLW remotely. You could have used something more believable.
No, well, that's true. What I just said is factually true.
Yeah, you did say he did go back.
Everyone's leaving that company. They did an angle where Hammerstone left the company, but it was all fake, and he returned immediately.
What a company!
Oh my God, MLW sucks. Yeah, I'm thinking about rethinking a lot of things. I talked about it before, where next year I'm probably just going to not watch Dynamite live and just like look at Rampage and pick a match or two. Collision, Dynamite, same thing.
Not what I do with Dynamite live. That just sounds like you're gonna get backed up even more.
No. I mean, like, not watch Dynamite live. I might watch all of Dynamite still, but I'll be at least cherry picking Rampage and probably Collision.
Yeah. Here's my cheat code. I've never watched any of these shows live. Works out.
That's fair. But yeah, no, I'm definitely scaling back my AEW watching next year, and
they're gonna get good again. This is gonna go all for naught, but that's fine.
I know.
Rampage, you could just not watch.
Did you know that the last MLW pay-per-view, Fightland, the main event, Alex Kane versus Jacob Fatu, went 48 minutes?
That's so bad. I almost watched that match, and I said, you know what? It probably wasn't all that great. 48 minutes. Who the hell's watching them wrestle for 48 minutes? Holy shit.
48 minutes and 3 seconds.
I must stress to you, Ryan.
It has two 5-star ratings on Cage Match, which means a 2.5.
Yeah, that sounds about right. You know how hard it is to have a 48-minute match? I could have told you before the match happened that those two could not wrestle for 48 minutes and make it entertaining. That's not a shot at Alex Kane or Jacob Fatu. That is a shot at the idea of making them wrestle for 48 minutes.
Alex Kane is not ready. Is not ready for a 48-minute match. I'm sorry. He's solid, but 48 minutes, no.
Oh,
no.
Brother. Hey, that's a great. We have.
Are you reading the comments and thing?
Yeah, no one told me. Okay, all right. Anyways,
anything else to plug? Yeah, Stardom Road. Listen to that show. Your Dose of Death. Ring Post Radio. We'll be back next week. I don't know what the hell we're talking about next week.
We got a Stardom pay-per-view.
Stardom pay-per-view. Probably CM Punk. More CM Punk conversation.
When do we get to put All Japan in our shuffle? Do we have to wait? Time out. Do we have to wait until the new year when we do the reshuffle? Is that when we get to finally put it into the shuffle?
Yes, correct.
Brother, that means
we'll talk about All Japan.
The last
end of the year show
of the year. Well, yeah, because that's the new year.
What day is that? What day is the show?
December 31st.
December 31st.
Which is that a Sunday?
Yes, it's a Sunday. So we won't be talking about that match probably. We'll probably wait a week to talk about it, which will be the new year. So we'll reshuffle that in.
Yeah, we're gonna record December 31st. That's the World's End review.
So next week we'll
be Stardom Dream Queen.
Oh, I know. And World's End and Dream Queendom and previewing Wrestle Kingdom.
Hopefully we can get a special like we did last year.
Probably not previewing Noah.
Oh, that show's bad. Have you seen that show? That is bad.
The new year?
They're doing a Road to Wrestle Kingdom match on that show.
I know. I know.
That's hilarious. When the second best match on the card so far is Daga versus Ada, you know it's bad.
Yeah, that's gonna be. Yeah, we might have to do like 2 episodes, like a Wrestle Kingdom special, like we did before. But we'll talk about that. Yeah, we'll call Chris Samsa. But that was a preview, right? That was a Wrestle Kingdom's preview, right? Not a review.
Yeah, which this is what we're talking about. It's gonna be a preview.
Yeah, we'll context.
We'll have the preview. Oh my god, that's gonna be a packed show. And it's all on the final day of the year. Reign in the new year with Ring Post Radio.
Yeah, baby. Make sure you subscribe because next week we're going to be talking about Stardom, Nagoya Big Winter, probably more CM Punk news. If we're feeling desperate, NXT Deadline. If we're feeling
Punk on Raw, what does CM Punk say?
Yeah, if we're feeling more desperate than NXT Deadline, MLW One Shot, Alex Kane versus Matt Cardona. Get into it.
We will not be that desperate. I will make sure we're not that desperate.
We'll see you all next week for whatever we got for this show. Make sure you subscribe to Ring Post Radio wherever.
World Tag League Final. All right, bye.
Bye.